Ayo, it's me. I know, it's been a little while since my last video, but unfortunately I graduated and now have to be an adult and work most days, so I've had much less free time than before. I'm still working on my game, and I should have some updates on that very soon. It's been a long learning process, but I can't wait to finally get it out and show off some behind the scenes videos after release. I've also been pretty active on this really cool site called Backlogged, which is a video game review site similar to Letterboxd but for games. I've been using it to give my brief thoughts on games that I don't really have time to make videos out of, and recently I've been using it to review older games that I bought forever ago and I'm finally getting around to playing. It's really cool, and you guys can follow me on there if you want to hear some of my thoughts in short form reviews, since it's a lot easier for me to post there regularly than get out videos, unfortunately. Also, just want to put it out there, I definitely do meme a bit more on there than usual, so don't take all the reviews too seriously. But that being said, I do want to continue making reviews on this channel, both full and 500 words or less, and I will try to get back into that shortly, but finding time has been a bit hard. But anyway, for now, I wanted to make another rapid fire review video since I've played a lot of stuff over the past 8 months or so that I didn't cover on the channel, and I wanted to give my thoughts on. So with all that said, let's talk about some games. Back in August, Fall Guys exploded onto the scene as the newest Battle Royale game that took a much different approach from everything else. Instead of building fortresses or searching for gear, you played as a fat little jelly bean who's competing in a series of Wipeout-style challenges in search of that ever-elusive crown. Conceptually, it's a knockout, and it's clearly been a huge success for the team working on it. Unfortunately, however, I think the game just falls flat in several areas. For me, the biggest issue with it was the lack of variety and weak mini-games, as nearly half of the games just weren't fun. Tail games are inconsistent as hell, this matching thing is a waste of time, and getting a team game is a total toss-up on whether or not you'll win. The opening rounds also become a slog after only a few hours of play, because once you learn the very basic strategies for each course, it's near impossible to fail, and the game doesn't do a great job of mixing it up, as you'll often get the same stuff back to back to back. In my opinion, the best games are the ones that require a lot more personal skill to actually navigate. Things like Slime Climb and Hexagon are by far my favorite, because while they have elements of randomness, there's a higher level of skill required for these, instead of just sitting there and praying your teammates have enough brain power to hit a laggy-ass ball in the correct direction. Still, the novelty of those first 10 hours or so can't be denied, and they've added some decent stuff with the new seasons, but I still wish it was better executed. Risk of Rain 2 is a co-op third-person roguelike based around fighting through hordes of enemies and bosses. The goal is to find new items and try to make your character as overpowered as possible. The combat itself is very simple, clicking and ability spamming, but it's still pretty fun, and it was enjoyable to tear through the various randomized levels until you get to the quote-unquote final boss of the game, and that's where the fun just stops and it becomes irritating. Because up until this point, you've spent 30 to 40 minutes going through the stages and powering up your character to take as much damage, deal as much damage, or avoid as much damage as possible, and then you spend 5 minutes walking in a straight line to get to the final boss who just comes and one-shots you, which does not feel good at all. He has this series of hard-to-dodge attacks, and some of the hitboxes feel really inconsistent, and it just leads to the boss feeling more irritating than anything. We eventually found it was best to sit back and cheese it if you wanted to reliably kill him, but that's just not fun, and the boss overall feels like a weird design that goes in contrast with a lot of other parts of the game. Thankfully, in one of the most recent changes, they have revamped how he functions, and it seems a bit better now, though I can't fully confirm because I haven't tested the newest version myself. But either way, aside from the final boss, I do really enjoy the bulk of the game, and I think the gameplay loop is simple but satisfying, and I'll be interested in returning once they reach their next major update. Rogue Cumpany is a video game made by Hi-Rez Studios. Therefore, it looks and plays like a game made by Hi-Rez Studios. 4 out of 10. This game's fucking mid. Oh wait, they use Run the Jewels in the soundtrack? Alright, fine, 5 out of 10. The Medium is a third-person horror game set between two realities, the real world and the spirit realm. We've seen dual realities before in games, but what's interesting about The Medium is that it allows you to play through both on one screen. This opens up the possibility to solve different puzzles between the two realities in real time. It's a cool concept that offers some interesting moments, but unfortunately I think it's too surface level. There's not a whole lot of player agency, and most things you come across are extremely simple, often having you pick up the only available object and place it in the only available location. Thankfully, it picks up a bit as the game progresses, giving you access to some larger spaces with multiple step puzzles to solve, but I still left thinking the concept was not fully realized. And when it comes to the occasional stealth sections, yeah, they're just bad. The Maw, played by Troy Baker, is a cool enemy, but the stealth is really thin and doesn't make any use of the dual world gameplay until the very end of the game. Also, I get that they wanted to style it like old Silent Hill games, but personally, I'm just not a huge fan of the fixed camera perspective, and I think it takes away from some of the tension that an over-the-shoulder third-person or first-person perspective would have offered. However, with all that said, the rest of the medium is pretty cool. Both the real world and the spirit world offer some really engaging environments, with the spirit world in particular having these beautifully grotesque hellscapes inspired by the legendary Polish painter Baksinski. The story of the medium is also interesting, and I liked unraveling the details of how the spirit world works and how each character was connected to the mystery. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it certainly held my interest until the end. So I'd say if you're searching for some tense horror gameplay or cool puzzle solving, you should probably look elsewhere. But if you're interested in exploring some incredible hellscape environments and unraveling a solid story, then the medium might be worth giving a shot. Oh, and the music's also pretty great. Hitman 3 is the latest entry in the rebooted Hitman franchise, and it picks up right where the other games left off, with another completely forgettable story, but some absolutely fantastic level design. Hitman 2 is one of my favorite games in recent memory, and while I don't think Hitman 3 quite reaches that level, there are still some great moments to be had. Sneaking around the Burj Khalifa, the streets of China, or a billionaire's Argentinian estate, plotting new ways to kill your targets is just as fun as it sounds, and like the previous entries, it features some great killing methods and some hilarious dramatic irony.
I don't much care for dying.
Over.
And hey, perhaps we never need.
Over.
I love this game.
It also features probably the best mission story in the entire trilogy, where you can pose as a detective and actually investigate and solve a winding murder mystery. And while the final mission is pretty weak and certain maps are a little bit less replayable than the ones in Hitman 2, this is still a damn good game and definitely my favorite so far in 2021. I can easily recommend this. Alright, that's gonna do it for this video. Sorry for going silent for so long. I'll definitely try to be more active in the future, and once we finally get this game out, I will have a ton of content to release. Feel free to follow me on Backlogged, and make sure to wishlist my game on Steam if you haven't already. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.